Everything changed in a matter of seconds. Seriously, just think about how quickly a franchise's entire future can be flipped completely upside down. Welcome to NFL Nexus. We are your home for the absolute most intense, deep-dive football analysis anywhere on the internet. Before we unravel what is, frankly, one of the most unprecedented and high-stakes gambles in modern NFL history, make sure you subscribe to the channel, like this explainer, and drop a comment below on what you think about all this. Oh, and if you truly want to support the deep dive content we create here, you can support the channel by becoming a channel member today. We really appreciate it. Now listen, this isn't just your standard sports story. No, this is a multi-million-dollar psychological thriller playing out in real time. The Indianapolis Colts are standing right at the edge of a cliff. Their entire trajectory as a franchise rests on the right ankle of one single man, Daniel Jones. We are talking about a massive collision course here. You have historic internal optimism clashing with unbelievable financial risk, all wrapped up in an incredibly dark cloud of national media doubt. The stakes? They have absolutely never been higher in Indianapolis.
To really grasp this, we have to look at the timeline, because the sheer impossibility of this window completely defies logic. On December 7th, 2025, Daniel Jones suffered a completely torn right Achilles. Now, you know and I know that for most professional athletes, an Achilles tear is an automatic 9 to 12-month death sentence for their season. It's not just a tweak, it's a total devastation of the human kinetic chain. Surgeons literally have to reconstruct the tendon, snapping it back together. After that, agonizing months of zero physical activity where the calf muscle just completely atrophies. A player has to endure this grueling, painful rebuilding process just to be able to walk without a limp, let alone run, let alone plant a foot, let alone throw a football against elite defenders. But then, look at that second date. It tells a terrifyingly aggressive story. June 2026. Less than 6 months after surgeons put his leg back together, Daniel Jones isn't just walking. He isn't just jogging on a side field. He is actively participating in 7-on-7 NFL practices. Which brings us to the most shocking target of all, September 13th, 2026. The Indianapolis Colts genuinely, truly believe that Daniel Jones will be their starting quarterback under center against the Baltimore Ravens in Week 1. This isn't just an aggressive timeline, guys. It is a full-blown sprint against medical science. They are pushing the absolute limits of human biology and modern sports medicine.
Let's rewind for a second, because to fully understand the gravity of this crazy comeback, you really have to understand the sheer tragedy of the fall. As I said earlier, everything changed in a matter of seconds. Picture it. It was a freezing December clash against the Jacksonville Jaguars. The Colts were just rolling, completely dominating the AFC. The crowd at Lucas Oil Stadium was absolutely electric. You could feel it in the air. They were sensing a deep, deep playoff run. Daniel Jones drops back in the pocket. He reads the defense. He plants his right foot into the turf to drive a massive throw downfield, and then a pop, a devastating, season-ending pop. In that single agonizing second, the air was literally sucked out of the stadium. You could hear a pin drop among 70,000 screaming fans. Just like that, the best season of Daniel Jones' entire professional career was instantly deleted. The Colts' soaring playoff hopes evaporated into thin air right before their eyes. It was such a cruel, violent reminder that in the National Football League, an entire team's destiny and hundreds of millions of dollars in future investments can be completely rewritten by a single misstep on the turf.
And it hurts so much more when you look at what he was doing before that collapse. His resume was nothing short of spectacular. Daniel Jones wasn't just playing well, he was a legitimate MVP candidate hiding in plain sight. Under head coach Shane Steichen's brilliant offensive scheme, Jones had engineered an 8-2 start to the season. Let that sink in, 8-2. He was shredding opposing defenses with this cold, calculated efficiency that we had frankly never seen from him before. He was completing an astonishing 68% of his passes. That's a career high, and it showcased a newfound surgical precision in the pocket. I mean, in just 13 games, he had already racked up 3,101 passing yards. He fired 19 touchdowns to only 8 interceptions. Steichen had completely unlocked a version of Daniel Jones that the New York Giants had spent years searching for but could never find. He was utilizing his intelligence, his arm talent, all of it perfectly. Jones was on pace to absolutely shatter his career highs across the board and lead one of the most lethal top-scoring offenses in the entire NFL. Defenses were legitimately terrified of him. This was not some fluke system quarterback moment, it was an offensive masterpiece, right up until the canvas was violently ripped in half.
Section 1. A shocking spring return. Fast forward to mandatory minicamp, June 12th through the 14th. The national media arrives at the Indiana Farm Bureau Football Center. And let's be real, they are fully expecting to see Daniel Jones strictly relegated to the rehab group.
Everyone assumed he'd be riding a stationary bike in the corner or maybe doing some light, cautious stretching on the sidelines under the watchful eye of a trainer. Instead, they are greeted by an unbelievable twist. Daniel Jones isn't just out on the grass, he is fully in the mix. And the twist gets even crazier when you look at this number: 5. Out of 6 passing attempts during his very first 7-on-7 period since the surgery, Daniel Jones completed 5 of them. 5 of 6 passing, operating directly against the Indianapolis Colts starting defense. And we aren't talking about little dump-offs or checkdowns or safe screens to the flat. No. 2 of those 5 completions were striking, incredible touchdowns. Less than 6 calendar months removed from having his Achilles completely put back together, Jones was dropping back, reading the defense at full speed, and firing absolute strikes into the end zone. Think about the mechanics for a second. The sheer physics of throwing a professional football require immense power generation from the lower body. You have to plant the back foot, drive the hips, and transfer hundreds of pounds of kinetic weight forward. The fact that Jones could execute this violent torque at NFL speed against NFL starters just months after his tendon was in pieces, it left beat reporters completely speechless. You don't just have to take my word for it either. The man orchestrating the entire offense, head coach Shane Steichen, stepped right up to the microphone and stated definitively, he looked good out there today throwing with the guys. Now, if you follow the NFL, you know coaches are notoriously guarded. They are trained to give absolutely nothing away. They rarely hand out free praise, especially regarding injured franchise quarterbacks, where expectations desperately need to be managed. But Steichen? He couldn't hide his genuine enthusiasm. He noted that getting Jones out there to actually run plays with the offensive unit was a monumental milestone. And this single sentence sparked a massive, uncontrollable surge of internal belief within the Colts organization. The locker room saw it, the coaching staff saw it, the belief that 2025 wasn't a fluke and that Jones is rapidly returning to his elite, precise form is just skyrocketing right now in Indianapolis. That quiet, cautious hope has officially morphed into a roaring expectation. But look, while the hype is intoxicating, reality dictates extreme caution. Steichen is thrilled, sure, but he is not reckless. To protect their franchise quarterback from a catastrophic career-ending setback, Steichen instituted strict, non-negotiable rules for these 7-on-7 drills. Rule number 1, no live rushers allowed. Period. The offensive line is completely empty. Nobody is permitted to even simulate a pass rush anywhere near Jones's feet. Why? Because one massive defensive tackle rolling into his leg ends the dream forever. Rule number 2, do not scramble. For a quarterback whose mobility has literally always been a lethal weapon, staying glued to a single spot takes immense discipline. But Steichen explicitly banned any impromptu running to prevent any sudden, explosive strain on that newly healed tendon. And rule number 3, if the primary reads are covered, do not force it, do not dance around in the pocket, just throw the ball out of bounds or literally drop it on the grass. The team is meticulously micromanaging every single rep, every single foot placement. They know they are walking a razor-thin tightrope here, and one wrong step in early June could completely erase everything they are desperately building for September.
And you know what's fascinating? It's not just the local beat writers who are connecting the dots and feeling the tension. The rest of the league is watching Indianapolis very, very closely right now. According to NFL insider Jason La Canfora, the whispers in front offices across the country are getting louder by the day. One unnamed NFL general manager blatantly stated, if he's doing 7-on-7 work now, that tells me they think he is in play for the first game. Just let the gravity of that statement sink in for a second. The brewing rumor and intrigue have completely left the Colts facility and actually infiltrated rival scouting departments. If a player is cleared for non-contact, team-structured football activities this early in the summer, it sends a blaring signal of intent to the rest of the league. The Baltimore Ravens, who are scheduled to visit Lucas Oil Stadium on September 13th for the season opener, are already altering their defensive meetings. They are being told to prepare not for a conservative backup, but for Daniel Jones at the helm. The impossible medical comeback is suddenly being treated as a highly probable, dangerous reality by the very teams trying to stop him.
Section 2. The $88 million bet.
In the NFL, hope is a nice narrative, but money talks. General manager Chris Ballard and the Colts front office had a massive, franchise-altering decision to make this offseason. They had a quarterback with a completely shredded Achilles entering a terrifyingly uncertain rehab process. They could have easily drafted a first-round replacement. They could have sought a veteran bridge quarterback to weather the storm. Instead, they walked right up to the poker table, looked at their hand, and shoved all their chips directly into the center. $88 million. Despite the catastrophic injury, the Indianapolis Colts doubled down. They signed Daniel Jones to a massive 2-year contract extension worth $88 million with incentives that could push the total value all the way to $100 million.
This is arguably the ultimate vote of confidence. By committing this much salary cap space and guaranteed money to Jones, the Colts definitively proved that they do not view 2025 as a one-hit wonder. But the risk here is monumental. That $88 million is money that cannot be spent on elite edge rushers, it can't go to shut down cornerbacks or crucial offensive line depth. If Jones goes down again, the dead cap hit will serve as a massive anchor, drowning the franchise's ability to compete for half a decade. They are betting the complete financial health of their organization on the belief that Shane Steichen can keep him playing at an elite level, and more importantly, that Jones's heavily scarred body can withstand the absolute brutality of the NFL.
Section 3. Flirting with rock bottom. But here is exactly where the story takes a violent turn. Because while the Colts are popping champagne over June passing drills and handing out $100 million contracts, the outside world is looking at this exact same situation with absolute horror. When you step out of the Indianapolis echo chamber and look at how the national media perceives this team, the contrast is completely jarring. They aren't looking at the 8-2 start from last year. They are looking at the foundational cracks in the roster, and they are terrified of what happens when this $88 million house of cards inevitably collapses. Look at Justin Melo's highly respected post-draft NFL power rankings. They paint a grim, unapologetic picture. Melo doesn't view the Colts as returning AFC contenders. He doesn't see a high-flying offense ready to dominate. He has the Indianapolis Colts ranked 27th in the National Football League. 27th. That places them firmly in the absolute basement of the league, fighting for scraps alongside the deeply flawed Miami Dolphins, the endlessly rebuilding Arizona Cardinals, the chaotic New York Jets, the struggling Cleveland Browns, and the rock-bottom Las Vegas Raiders. To the national media, the Colts are not a threat. They are a tragedy waiting to happen. The logic here is brutal, but mathematically simple. If you are relying on a quarterback recovering from a mid-season Achilles tear to save your entire franchise, you are not a serious playoff contender. You are a massive liability.
The national media is simply not buying the comeback story, period. No matter how many heavily edited practice clips the Colts release on social media, no matter how many positive, glowing quotes Shane Steichen gives the press pool, the national consensus remains stubbornly, aggressively negative. Why? Because sports analysts are paid to look at long-term trends, raw data, and historical precedent. And the precedent here is screaming glaring red flags. The outside world is looking intensely at the Colts' depth chart. They see unproven, terrifyingly thin safety nets. You've got 2023 first-rounder Anthony Richardson Sr., a player who carries his own massive injury baggage, and you've got 2025 sixth-round pick Riley Leonard. Analysts realize that there is virtually zero viable backup plan if Jones goes down again. The team is walking a tightrope without a net. And when you look closely at the unvarnished historical facts, the profound skepticism from the media isn't just understandable, it is mathematically justified.
Let's systematically break down exactly why the top analysts believe banking on Daniel Jones's health is the most reckless, desperate gamble of the entire NFL calendar year. This isn't just about one bad step in Jacksonville. This is a terrifying, compounding history of heartbreak. First, during his tenure with the New York Giants, Jones was plagued by deeply concerning, lingering neck issues that cost him significant time. You do not mess around with spinal and neck injuries. One awkward sack can lead to terrifying neurological consequences. Then, in the fall of 2023, absolute catastrophe struck with a fully torn ACL in his knee. That required massive reconstructive surgery, a grueling year of rehab, and a permanent alteration of his lower body mechanics. Fast forward to week 12 of the 2025 season, he is suddenly slowed down by a reported fracture in his fibula, literally a broken leg bone. And then, just mere weeks later, the ultimate disaster, the completely torn right Achilles in December 2025. Neck, knee, leg, ankle. This is a catastrophic, compounding accumulation of physical trauma. The analysts aren't hating on Daniel Jones's undeniable talent or his intelligence in the pocket. They are looking at a human skeletal and muscular system that has repeatedly, violently proven it cannot withstand the sheer brutality of the NFL.
And all of that terrifying medical history culminates in this single devastating fact. It hits like an absolute gut punch to anyone analyzing the Colts' future. 0. Daniel Jones has played 7 brutal seasons in the National Football League, and in those 7 years, he has played exactly 0 full seasons. He has never once started all 16 or 17 games in a single year. Never, not once. Every single year of his professional career has been interrupted, derailed, or completely ended by physical trauma. So when Chris Ballard blindly hands him $88 million and expects his body to hold up for 17 grueling regular season games, taking hits from 300-pound defensive linemen, plus a potential gauntlet of 3 to 4 high-intensity, freezing cold playoff games in the brutal AFC, the media isn't just skeptical. They think the Indianapolis Colts are living in an absolute delusional fantasy world. Section 4. The Ultimate 2026 Gamble.
We are officially witnessing the violent collision course of the Colts' unwavering, desperate internal hope versus the cold, unforgiving historical reality of the NFL. This isn't just about one team's depth chart anymore. This is a massive storyline that will completely define the entire AFC landscape for the rest of the decade. Let's summarize this core tension impartially. On one side, you have the internal belief. The Colts see a Week 1 starter who defies medical science. They see a man entirely worthy of an $88 million extension. They see their undisputed franchise quarterback, perfectly synced with Shane Steichen's brilliant offensive mind, throwing touchdowns in June. On the exact opposite side, you have the external doubt. The analysts see an endless, terrifying injury history that simply cannot be ignored. They see a roster so inherently flawed and wholly dependent on a physically fragile quarterback that they rank him 27th in the entire league. They see massive, catastrophic roster risk with an untested Anthony Richardson Sr. and a rookie Riley Leonard as the only flimsy safety nets standing between the Colts and a half-decade of absolute irrelevance. It is an unprecedented, highly polarizing gamble. There is absolutely no middle ground here.
So, as we stare down the barrel of the 2026 NFL season, we are left to ponder the colossal stakes of this impending collision. Will the Indianapolis Colts' unbelievable $88 million gamble pay off, crowning Daniel Jones as the ultimate comeback story of the decade and securing a dynasty? Or is the brutal, unforgiving history of his compounding injuries destined to repeat itself, dragging the entire franchise right back into the abyss? The answer is going to change the league forever. Thank you so much for diving into the details with us here on this explainer. Make sure you hit that subscribe button for NFL Nexus, drop a like on this explainer, and seriously, let me know your thoughts in the comments. Are the Colts completely crazy, or are they absolute geniuses? And remember, if you want to fuel more of these cinematic deep dives, you can support the channel by becoming a channel member today. Until next time, keep your eyes on the gridiron. The drama is just getting started.